everyone, and thanks very much for coming back and joining me for another Retro Fridays. I really love doing these. I'm really happy to be coming on and doing this evening. So I have a really good 1980s classic for you. I have Scrooged, and of course, you know, played by lead character, the one and only Bill Murray. You know, I mean, Ghostbusters, I'm just saying. Absolutely fantastic. This honestly is one of those Christmas movies that I just cannot miss. There is some Christmas movies that I maybe don't like as much as others, and I would give, you know, sort of a miss the odd year, but this is one that I can never miss. Me and my boyfriend watch this every year as close to Christmas as possible, you know, like say like at least a week or two before Christmas Day. And something that I want to say is, like a lot of my movies, guess who does the music? A lot of the movies that I do for Retro Fridays, at least a big majority of them, has been by the one and only legend. I'll give you a clue. Dun, 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 dun. Of course, it's Danny Elfman. It's Danny Elfman. I don't know why I had to embarrass myself by doing the Simpsons theme tune, but yeah, of course, it's Danny Elfman. I have to just say, just in general as well, the Christmas songs that they chose as well for this, you know, aside Danny Elfman's awesome music composition, is fantastic. And this is just such a great Christmassy movie. It's brilliant. I absolutely I love this movie. And of course, you know, Bill Murray plays Frank, or if you want to say Lumpy. And it's pretty much, you know, he works for a network where he does his own version of A Christmas Carol on, you know, on a set. And he pretty much controls it all and what way he wants it and what way it's, you know, sort of going to go. I think Bill Murray was the best, you know, chosen for, you know, the lead cast. I think he was absolutely fantastic, and he was really funny in it. You know, of course he came off as a, you know, a jackass, like the way he treated Claire and everything like that. But at the same time, he just was so good, and he was funny as well. There's a lot of humour in this movie as well, which I love. Now, I do have my notes with me so that I don't forget, you know, anything that I want to say. And of course, Claire, she, aka, is the original Lois Lane in Superman. I just thought I would throw that in here for anybody who may not know. So, of course, Lou, who was the guy who actually gave him the job, who gave Frank the job, played by Bill Murray, in the network, TV network, he came to him. You know, of course he's dead, obviously, but he came to him, right? And he, where he works in the office, and he was telling him, you know, you're going to be visited by 3 ghosts. And obviously he wasn't listening. And one thing that I think it was probably one of the coolest scenes in this movie was at the start, was when he then got him and grabbed Frank by the throat. And it's so cool because, you know, the scene where he like moves him around and he has him by the throat, but then he pushes him out of the window. And it's so cool how they done that, because it looked like it really did happen, and it was actually happening. And then Frank was on the opposite side of the window, but he was outside of his office window. He was outside. I always thought that was such a really cool shot scenes. And there is so many scenes within this movie that actually are shot like that. Like, for example, when he gets visited by the Ghost of Christmas Future. That one was super cool. The way they had, you know, so many different screens, TV screens or monitors or whatever you call it, behind Frank. And you could just sort of see him, and the hand was coming through just one of the bottom screens, and it came out like 3-dimensional. And even though this movie was made in like 89, the visuals still hold up today, very much so, I believe, hold up today, absolutely. They do, and that's what I love about the movie. It wasn't splashed with a ton of CGI. It looked very, very real, and the fact that they made it look real but also 3-dimensional as well is absolutely fantastic. So, like top-notch visuals as well, but any CGI that was there seemed very minimal to me, you know, and then, you know, things like that, you know, coming out like 3D, it's really, really cool. So I want to talk about really quickly first who my favourite is in this. My favourite in this, definitely The Ghost of Christmas Past, played by David Johansen, and he was actually the lead singer in the punk band called New York Dolls. And like they're like a pretty big deal, like definitely were. I just thought I would mention that for anybody who didn't know. And he just looks like, if you look it up, New York Dolls, he's the lead singer in it, and you'll see, oh my gosh, it just looks like him. And the way he actually talks in this film is like, it is his real voice. Because when I watched it when I was really, really young, I can remember thinking, I wonder, does he put the voice on? You know, that's really cool if he does. It's a cool voice. But it actually pretty much is how he just kind of how he speaks, sort of thing. It's really sad, like seeing when he takes him to sort of see his past and everything, and when he was a kid, and it sort of shows Frank sitting as a really young kid with his mum, and he was watching TV, and it was Christmas, and his dad comes in. I don't know the name of the actor. You can let me know below. I don't know the actor's name, but you know, in the movie National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, with little Leonard in it from Big Bang Theory. Just thought I would say that anyway. But what I'm getting to is, you know, Griswold's boss in it, that his brother goes out and captures and everything because he doesn't get his Christmas bonus. So he's actually Frank's dad in it. But anyhow, getting back to the story, and he just throws down on the ground, he's like, Happy Christmas, Day Son or whatever, and throws him like £5 of veal or something like that, £5 of veal. I was like, but it's Christmas and everything. And then he just like storms out of the house, and you're like, oh my gosh, like what a jackass. And you just sort of think, wow, like that would have a really big impact on a young child. And you sort of think, okay, they took us to, you know, the Ghost of Christmas Past first, and you're sort of seeing straight away that would mess you up, you know. You know, if you were in that position and your dad was actually seriously like that, it would mess you up, you know. It's bound to do something with your mind, and you sort of think to yourself, you know, is that why he turned out to be a bit of an ass, especially to Claire, you know, the way he treated her and everything, when you got to see all that as well. He really wasn't, he maybe just wasn't thinking, but at the same time you think to yourself, that is probably a big knock-on effect from what he went through, very much so early on, from when he was a child. But what I like about this film as well is every year when I watch it, it also gets me thinking of, you know, when he came home and he gave Frank, like, whatever, you know, the £5 of veal. Like, I remember he even saying to my boyfriend about this when we watched it this year. I will never forget, right? Obviously, my dad didn't get me £5 of veal, like, but I'll never forget. There was one year when I was younger, we always used to get like one present before, like either at midnight, or depending if it was really young, it obviously would have been before midnight. But when you got a bit older, you were allowed to stay up to midnight. And my dad, we were in Orlando, Florida, I think the year before that. And I seen the dolphins swimming and everything, and I loved the movie Flipper, the old movie Flipper. And I remember my dad said, look Julie, look what's up there. And I think it was in my sister's room playing or something like that. And on top of, you know, like the door, my dad had hung on a hanger. He had hung these pajamas, and there were these like lime green and yellow. And I can remember the actual pajama bottoms were like a lemon colour, and the actual jumper was like a lime green, but the whole arms were lemon, and it had Flipper on it. And I can remember exactly how Flipper looked. It was just like half of him like flipping, like coming out, the top part of him coming out of the water, and then he was sort of like sideways and smiling, and there was all like sparkly glitter. And I can't believe I remember exactly what it looks like. And he got me that. Well, it was obviously from my mum and my dad, but he said that's like a little midnight present for you tonight, you know, before Santa comes, you know, in the middle of the night or whatever. So you have to go to bed now. And I just will never forget that. So yeah, this movie kind of, I don't know if it's just me, does any of yous, when you're going through it, sort of thinking like, oh, that in my past this happened or that happened. And it does make you sort of think back. I suppose reflect is the best word I'm looking for. It makes you think back and reflect on your own sort of things as well. So I don't know, it's kind of cool that a movie actually does that. But yeah, so then we'll go to Ghost of Christmas. He gets a visit, of course, from Ghost from Christmas Past, and I absolutely love her. She's just so bubbly, she's so fun, she's so full of energy. I completely forget the actress's name, I'm so sorry guys. it's late and like I've had a super busy day, but I really wanted to come on and talk about this movie. But she's an absolute nutter, and she was actually in the movie with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn called Bounty Hunter. Like, she wasn't in it long, but I love her, and of course she's in other movies as well. But what I loved was, you know how she has like her little wings and everything, and she's super hyper, and you know how there's like bubbles and everything sort of like floating down, you know, bubbles that you blow, kids bubbles or whatever, or bubble from the bath, bubbles, whatever you want to call it, right? And she actually has, if you look really close the next time you watch the movie, you can clearly see that they had designed her earrings to look like actual bubbles. Like actual bubbles. And I think that is so cool. Like I love little wee cool like details like that in movies. Maybe that's just me, but I love her because, let's face it, like, I'm not normal, right? And she's an absolute nutter, and you know, I'm as random as you're going to get them, and that's probably why I really love her, because she's a real nut job, and I think she's absolutely hilarious. I really do. And then, you know, of course, she shows Frank Grace's son, and Grace, of course, is one of his employees. And, you know, he's really sad and everything, and, you know, it really does, it is sad. And then you can sort of see that he starts to sort of feel bad because he didn't realise or anything, because that's the thing, he didn't sort of ever stop to think about other people because he was always thinking of himself. And then it shows you his brother James opening his present that Grace, who I was saying about, who works for him, actually, you know, switched them round, and basically he had got a VCR, and then his brother thought that he had bought him the VCR, and he's like, oh yeah, my ex-employee, she got it wrong, sort of thing. And then his wife said, when are you ever going to learn? And it is so sweet and like so heartbreaking. He goes, well, never, he's my brother. And it's like, that is so sweet, because he's my brother and I am never going to give up on him. And I just think that is like, that line always kind of like chokes me up a bit, because it's just like, oh, that's really sweet. James had sent Frank as a Christmas present to Frank. He had sent him a framed photograph with a really nice frame around it of him and his brother together. That always makes me sad, that part, honestly. And it is a very moving movie, although there is a lot of comedy to it. It is very moving. It is, and that's what I really love about it. And then, of course, we get to see Ghost of Christmas Future. And as I was saying earlier, it's so funny when you'd seen behind him, you know, on all the like monitors and everything. And what is absolutely hilarious, talking of comedy, is when he ends up back on the set. You know, the way he kind of keeps, when the three ghosts sort of visit, you know how sometimes he kind of like, it's almost kind of like, I think it's kind of like a teleportation type thing, but you know what I mean. It's probably the bit, not a good way of describing it, but he's kind of like with them 1 minute, and then like he'll be like transported back to the set, or he could be somewhere else or wherever, you know, if that makes sense. But he then came back to the set, and then the next thing, he was over at the lift, and down came one of, you know, it was actually the ghost of Christmas Future, but for the actual set. And he then thinks it's the actual ghost of Christmas Future. I just think that part is absolutely hilarious, and the way he gets on and acts towards them is just absolutely hilarious. But then he's trying to prove it, and he opens up the cloak, and inside it, I don't know how to describe it, it was like it's like really like freaky, like all curled up inside, was like inside the cloak of the costume of sort of like these arms coming out in the hand and everything. It's like what looks like an old, like creepy looking weird old woman, but like maybe like a baby version of an old woman. Like crazy, like random cool funny moments. There's so many amazing classic moments in this movie. Like, gosh, there'd be too many to name, to be honest. It's an absolutely fantastic movie. And the thing is, the effects in this movie are absolutely fantastic. And I mean, this movie to me shows why 80s movies were good, because they really did focus on the characters, the character development, and the actors throughout this whole entire movie were absolutely fantastic. I mean, honestly, you know, David Johansen, I have to say, was a fantastic actor in this, and I just thought he was absolutely brilliant. He was my favourite, honestly. Someone I really want to mention is Bobcat Goldthwait. I hope I've pronounced his name right. He was freaking hilarious in this movie. And of course he was an employee that Frank had sacked, basically. And of course he was running around like a madman trying to kill him, because he just was absolutely, he was royally pissed, basically. And one thing I want to say was he literally reminded me of Elmer Fudd. And if you don't know who Elmer Fudd is Looney Tunes, basically, you know, the dude who always runs around like, where are you, little wabbit? You know, and he's always looking to basically kill Bugs Bunny. And I absolutely think that he literally just sounded like him, and he had the glasses and everything, and he had the shotgun and everything. And I'm sorry, like every time I watch this every single year, I'm like, that's Elmer Fudd. That is 100% out and out Elmer Fudd. Please let me know, is it just me? It cannot just be me. That I want to talk about, because the effects in this movie were fantastically done. They really, really were. I thought that the scene, do you know the scene where it showed with Ghost of Christmas Future? I thought it was fantastic when the Ghost of Christmas Future took Frank to show Frank that he actually dies, you know, he's going to die. And it actually shows you that he's going to be getting cremated. And then he walks in, and what's really cool is he says he sees his brother James, and he actually then, and it is kind of disturbing but freaky, but it's so good, it's so well done, it's brilliant, it's freakily good. He grabs onto the, you know, the handle, the side of his coffin, and he goes, James, don't let them burn me, they're going to burn me. And that is the thing about the whole movie. Although he knew that no one could hear him, he still was talking regardless. And I think it's kind of different, you know, if you're kind of, if it's kind of like a cartoon or something like that or whatever, but because this was actually, you know, real, like, actors playing the role, you're sort of like, it's interesting. Like, he's still, you know, we're on the third ghost now, and he's still talking to everybody in his real life like he knows them, you know, and that is kind of freaky. So, and then he was saying to his brother James, you know, come on, either I'm going to get burnt, sort of thing. And then the next thing, when it goes into the flames, it then swaps from the shot of him holding the coffin off himself, about to get burnt, to actually him then in the coffin, and he's lying there, and that part gives me the shivers because it's so freaky. And then you see like he's actually getting burnt, and he's sort of screaming like, help me, sort of thing. And then that's when he wakes up and everything. Oh, that part. And even as well, like you can see like sort of like the ground taker, or the I'm trying to think of the word, not ground taker, am I talking about, sorry, the undertaker, pretty much sure it's an undertaker that's standing behind him, as you know, you can see him going into the flames, and he's wearing like I don't know if they're normal glasses or whatever, like glasses, right? And you can actually see the fire flames in his glasses. And I don't know, I just really appreciate like little minuscule details like that for effects and visuals and things like that. I actually go out of my way sometimes to look out for stuff like that, because I know some people probably, if it's a few seconds or so, that you'd look at it and you'd miss it, or they maybe don't really appreciate it. But I personally really appreciate things like that, because that's something that someone's actually went to the bother to think up, actually. You know, that's not just something that, oh, it just happened by accident. That's something that visually someone has sat down and went, you know what, okay, look, it would be kind of cool if we had it looking where you could actually see the flames through the glasses, and that might make it a bit more dark and eerie and like really freaky. And the thing about this movie is, you know, I even was saying to my boyfriend when I was watching it, you know, every year when I watch this, you go, wow, you know when they're going around and they're asking questions, and in the family, when his brother is having Christmas, and they're all like, oh, you know, why do you keep inviting him every year? And they're all going around and playing a family game, and the answer was the SS Menno or something like that for one of the questions. And then whenever he obviously woke up from the last, or you know, came back to the set, his set for A Christmas Carol, after he was visited by the last ghost, and then, you know, starts to realise, like, I need to be a better person. Pretty much he then says to the camera on his TV show, when, you know, this whole play is supposed to be going on of A Christmas Carol, he says to his brother, oh, and it's the SS Menno, James. And you'd be like, what the actual friggity frig, heck to freaking well know. I have shivers, what's going on? And I've always, like, no matter how many times I watch that, you're just like, you would be really freaked out, like insanely freaked out. But yeah, I mean, like, I just think that like those effects I was talking about a minute ago, like, was so class whenever you could see that in his glasses. I just, you know, going out of your way to put little things like that in. And the thing is, you know, it was just a brilliant all-round movie, brilliant cast, brilliant music, and even, you know, like the scenes, you know, where things get really freaky, like when I was talking about the coffin and things like that, and when he was going back to his past and things like that, the music that was used was very haunting. And Danny Elfman's brilliant at that. I mean, look at, for example, Edward Scissorhands. He knows how to do, you know, like haunting music. And the music was just so well fitted to just really give you the feel of, oh my gosh, you know, that's freaky. But yeah, I love the ending when he's just going around, he's so happy and everything, and he like gets the mistletoe, and he's like, this mistletoe says I have to kiss this woman and all, and he's just like realising, like, it's Christmas, I should be being happy, I should be, you know, enjoying things. And, you know, him going back and seeing how he treated Claire, and like he was getting her like silly presents for Christmas, like crappy, like he wasn't putting any thought into it, and then he saw that like she was getting him presents, and, you know, and like even cancelling, you know, dinner with friends that had been made for like a full month, and then he was like, oh no, I have to go out with my boss to my, you know, blah 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 dinner, I'm not coming, just you go on out with instead, I'm not bothering coming. And then he thought he was in the right, and he's like, yeah, I'll wait for you to apologise, sort of thing. And then you just, you know, you look back, he looked back and thought, wow, like, I really, and it actually took him to have the visit by those three ghosts to actually get him to realise, I did not treat her right, and I lost her. Like seeing Grace, you know, when the ghost was showing Frank, and she was sort of, I think it was really cool visually. I really wanted to mention this visually, the way they done that, and they had her all dolled up, and she kind of reminded me, oddly, because her face was really pale, it kind of reminded me of Cruella de Vil-esque, like she kind of looked like Cruella de Vil. I think that was the point. She kind of had like the cigarette and everything. And then she said, oh, it's just like somebody told me, scrape them off, Claire, you know, something like that. And I just think that was a really, really well shot, very cool visuals as well for that scene with Claire. And I think she was fantastic in this movie, I really do. And I love the whole relationship between those two, because, like, I mean, obviously you knew they were going to be getting back together again, but you still watch it and you're like, oh, these two are going to get back together again, and then it obviously shows you the whole, I love the way it shows you the whole build up of, you know, explaining how they met and the first time they went out for Chinese food, and then it sort of explains their whole romance throughout the movie. And I absolutely, honestly, I absolutely just love the end. It just puts you on like a really high vibe for like just happiness and Christmas magic, and, you know, and he's going round and he's just so happy and everything. And then she sees him on the TV, because of course she works in a place where, you know, people who are like, you know, homeless and stuff like that come in, and she gives them like blankets and stuff and like helps look after them, pretty much like a volunteer. And she then sees it on the TV and he's talking about her, and then she runs down to the studio where the set is for the set of play of a Christmas Carol, and then she walks over and he grabs her and everything and kisses her and tells the world basically that he loves her, you know. And then, you know, his employee Grace, her little son, you know, he wasn't, you know, sort of speaking or anything like that, like he wouldn't speak, and he sort of like tugged on Frank and he says, have you got something to say or whatever? And he goes, yes, and God bless us everyone. And it's just like, that gets me every time. That hits me every time. I'm very like, I'm one of these like softies. I'm like, it's really easy to get me emotional, like even like cartoons and stuff sometimes. Like my boyfriend will look over and I'd be like, what? And he'll be laughing at it. I'll be like, I'm not. But it's like, yeah, okay, I am crying. I don't even actually care at this point. But yeah, I absolutely love this movie. And my favourite song probably would be the end, to be honest, you know. And it's so cool. I don't know if any of you have seen the movie A Little Shop of Horror. It's an old movie, but it's called Little Shop of Horror. And at the end, you know when he's singing, you know the song, put a little love in your heart. And then he'll go, just the man. And then me and my boyfriend were joking about it. We do this every year. And then he'll go, put a little love in your heart. Or that's not even how he sings. What am I doing? And then he'll go, just the women. And I'll be like, put a little love in your heart. And then he'd be like, okay, you over there, you. And then he'll go, and then he went, feed me, Seymour, feed me. And that's out of Little Shop of Horror, you know, like the big plant that just like has to keep eating sort of thing. Yeah, if you have to watch it. But yeah, I love that song. I absolutely love that song. It's so magical. Put a little love in your heart. It just gets me really happy, and you're always waiting for that song coming on at the end. But all round, this is just such a wonderful Christmas movie. Now, it wouldn't be my favourite Christmas film, but I can obviously relate and understand. I do know that it's a lot of people's all-time favourite Christmas movie, or one of their like top 3. It wouldn't be one of my top 3. It is a phenomenal movie. It is fantastic. And honestly, if we could get more movies like this, it would be fantastic, to be honest. It's just a brilliant movie. No nonsense. It's a Christmas movie. It's very Christmassy. Brilliant cast, brilliant character development. No nonsense, honestly. So I would be very surprised. Like, honestly, if you're watching My Retro Friday tonight and you have not seen Scrooged, what are you doing? Like, you have time. Somehow get a hold of it. I am sure there is someone in your family or your friends that has Scrooged. I am sure you have a way of watching it. But I absolutely love this movie. Absolutely love this movie. So thank you so much for coming along and watching. And until my next video, I will speak to you all soon. And don't forget that the Force will be with you always. Bye, guys.